Alright, so had to jump cut real quick. But yeah. So basically what I was saying that when I was in the home with them, my father didn't really do anything, never really communicate. We never communicated. We would be in the same room. We would not communicate, not one word or anything like that. And it was very boring to the point that he would go to the room and I would just go in my own room. See, the thing I didn't like about the room that I was in is that it was a big closet, but it couldn't close, and I was kind of had anxiety at that point, like scared and stuff like that. So I just used that to just use the light just to be able to sleep in it. Use the closet light when I turn off my light. But I didn't. The thing I didn't like about it in the room is that the bed, it creaked. You see this bed right here, silent, yeah, but the bed was like, dang, you can in the middle of the night you can hear me rotating around just to falling asleep. So it's like it was so uncomfortable, it was so boring. So I was like, Dad, can I go to Grandma's house? Because Grandma's house was I was just asked, can I go to Grandma's house because my cousins were there. So, but every time that I came to Michigan, I'll text them and say, hey, I'm here in Michigan and stuff. So it's like every time that we meet each other, it's like, yes, the things that from the past, but I try to set it aside and see if everybody changed and stuff like that. I just go there because I'd rather go there because it was just boring. I was the only child at the time with my dad and Vanessa soon became my stepmom. She soon became my stepmom, but I was with my cousins, and the things were still the same. Basically, things were still the same. But it's like we mature. Well, they matured a bit more in a sense, but we still did the same thing, whole bullying and stuff like that. Nothing never left. Nothing ever changed in that dynamic. But when we came around, and we was like, I was 13, and in 2015 I was turning 14. So I had my 14th birthday. My M will be the one who was 13, so she was 12. So I was 13, she was 12, and my other cousin T was 2 years older than me. So I was 13 and she was 16. So I was there for my 14th birthday, and it was the golden year because of my birthday was on December 14th. I was turning 14, so it was the golden year. So we had our ups and downs. Things was the same, basically. But there's times that we will have our moments where we talk and chill and stuff. That's when they wanted to. But most of the time, they will talk to me and stuff like that if they had something that they wanted to be around me because they see something that they wanted, and I'll be like, you know what, this is the only way for me to be able to talk to you and stuff like that. Once again, the trait of people pleasing and stuff, and that's how I've been taken advantage from many of the family, in the whole family, and also I became a people pleaser around other people, strangers, even if I was making friends. So it's like I always double down to make other people feel comfortable, even when I was uncomfortable. And I used to be walking on eggshells a lot for other people, fearing what they may say to me and stuff like that, because of I faced nothing but negativity. So there was no love anywhere. So the only time that someone would be nice to me, and I figured that they had an orchestrated day. So if I knew, so they put me in a situation that they will only be nice to me if they can get something out of me. That's how I became a people pleaser at that point. Growing up, in the trait that I've had when I was with my mother never left. It was never solved. My mother couldn't help me overcome or even understood me at that point, because there's times that yes, she does work. Yes, she was in the military, but there's days and there's times that she was free. She was sitting watching TV doing what she's doing. Never, why, I'm gonna ask you this. Why would you always enable a parent's bad behavior when you know it is wrong to not love your kids when you're on the weekends. If you know you can sit down all day and watch TV and eat, drink, gossip on the phone or whatever you may do, and you can't spend time with your own kids, but when your kids stands up for themselves and say, oh, but you hadn't been loving me, you haven't been doing these, then you have the audacity to be upset at your kids because it was the truth, you know? I don't take no, it's like, no, it's accountability. I don't care who you are. Accountability is accountability. And she had the time to spend some time with me, but she didn't want to. So she rather be on the phone. She'd rather be watching TV. Now, you would say, but, and it's like the adults and people always find ways to enable other people's behaviors. If you, it's called a sacrifice. If you're the only parent, say that you're the only mother to take care of the kids. You're the only father to take care of the kids. There's a state of that, of sacrifice in the way beginning before you decided to have kids. Now, granted, you may not know how the future way may hold, but when you are the only parent taking care of the kids, you should know, if I'm free, then I will use my free time to be with my kids, because I know that if I'm not free, I cannot spend my time with my kids. And if my kids know that even on my free time, I cannot provide my love in time, then I might as well not at all. And that's how your kids is going to grow resentment towards you, and you have no choice but to eat it. You have no choice. So that was the case. Yes, everybody hears that someone is in the military, someone has a hierarchy, you be like, oh, she doesn't, y'all just find everything under the sun to enable the behavior. Anybody in the world, anybody, y'all hold no accountability to anybody when you know it's wrong. Even you know it's wrong. So it's like, if you want to be a parent, the whole thing about being a parent is sacrifice. It is not that hard. You decided to have a kid, right? I'm not going to get far off. He just heated me a little, but it was in those cases. My father never spent time with me, and Vanessa always wanted my dad. And the thing is, Vanessa always wanted my dad. She never wanted my dad to be around me. So it's like, if my dad and I have fun, then Vanessa will call my dad into the back room, and he stayed there all day, all night. So it could take one woman will woo him, and that's it, basically. So that's why I always go to grandma's house, and then we go to auntie's house. Even though I know how they treat me, it's because at least I had something to do. I did not want to be back at the house, and it was just the first week of me being there. And then my father, seeing that I was having too much fun and didn't want to come back, then he had a problem with that. And what he would do is always come and get me and be like, we gotta go. And he'd be like upset at me, and he'd be like, you spend all much. He's basically a narcissist. He's a narcissist though. So he was like, oh, so you want to spend more time with them and not me? And I tell him, it's like, we don't even speak to each other in the house. We literally in the same room, and you don't speak to me. But when other people come to the house, you speak to them all day. You see them longer than I have. And he was like, because they're my brothers. He said, they are my brothers. And he said, they are my brothers. That's what love, that's what we do for each other. And I'm like, and he told me that I don't speak because we're in the same house. I was like, what? If your brothers would have stayed in the same room, stayed in the house, like, his brother is Uncle W. I'm gonna call him Way, but that's not his real name. It's his middle name, Way, Uncle Way. But I'm not gonna say his real name. And then it'll be his friend John and all of them, right? If they all spent the night, he would have been talking, party, smoking, drinking, playing cards, and he did this. He have done this. This is exactly what he did. And I was like, and I come up to him at the table. I say, how is that you could talk to them, but you cannot talk to me, and we're in the same room? And he knew it was true, so that's why he'd be like, stay in the child's place. And he was like, because we're in the same house, that's why. I'm saying, but you seen them. So it's basically, he showed me his true self. He showed me his true self at that early age, and I failed to realize it. So during the midst of a jump cut into my school year, because I only got so much time, but basically the whole summer break was just like that. I wanted to spend more time with them, even if they treated me wrong, to stay home with my dad and Vanessa. So when my middle school came, 8th grade, I went to Ypsilanti Middle School. And in 2015, that's when my sister was born. Ever since she was born, they put all their attentions onto her. They never put attention into me before she was, because Vanessa was pregnant and she conceived her at 2015. So at that time, they was never paying attention to me to begin with. So, going to school, he already gave me these rules and these iron fists that he always said. And the way he does it is like, he's one of those people that will do the Bible scriptures saying, oh, if you did this in say in Deuteronomy 28 and 16, that's something totally different. But I'll just an example. He would say those things and they would start quoting it, but he never lives up to it. He uses the Bible scriptures to put fear in me, but he smokes, drinks every single day. He parties every single weekend. He did everything that Jesus would not allow any man to do when you start walking with him, basically. So at this time, I had to develop self-taught, self-mastery of certain things that I needed to understand. So at this time, I started to close myself off of my own father. He showed me his true colors. So during the middle school, once again, I was being bullied. I was having bad grades because at home, my father would never speak to me. I would always go in my room, and he never liked me when I'm in my room. He said, "Why are you always so close off?" I told him, "You don't speak to me. There's nothing for you to say. We literally sit in the living room and don't say nothing." And the fact is that what he would like to do is he knows the truth. He said he knows truth, and he'd be like, I'm going to ask him this, but I know he's going to tell the truth, and then I'm going to be offended that he told the truth. That's exactly how he always been. So he knows the answer, but he just want to see how he can handle the truth. And he'd be like, bro, why are you doing this to yourself? And the thing is, he did this to find a way to punish me. See, the thing is, for everybody, up to my dad and Vanessa and them, everybody in them, they had a reason to be mad at, everybody had a reason to be mad at each other. Now, I decided to be different. I'm really nothing like them. I became like them because of the environment that I was being involved in. They made me involved into an environment that was not good for me, that I inherit these things, that I had no control over the environment and the living situation. I had to endure it. I wanted to change, but I couldn't do any of that because of that. I didn't know where to start. I couldn't go to anybody. I couldn't ask anybody for help or anything, because when I asked for help, they would always belittle me, downgrade me, thinking I'm better than them and stuff like that. So basically a crab in the bucket, so I had to play along with all this. So basically they couldn't find reasons to hate me, dislike me. They had to literally use their eyeballs to watch me. So say if I broke a dish on accident, see, and this is the reason why you always so dumb and ignorant and all that stuff. They literally have to find a reason. To this day, I'm 21. To this day, I don't deal with them or anything like that. I love them from a distance, but all the way up to this point and further on to the parts, they had to find reasons. They had to find reasons they had to come up with reasons. But for my cousins, they already knew the reasons. They can tell the reasons, and they did the reasons. But for me, I can just sit down and they be like this. They just do this. See, and I've been telling them, I say, bro, you have to find reasons. I tell them, you have to find, when it comes to me, you literally have to find the reasons why to be upset. There's no reason for you to be upset with me. You have to find reason. I tell them, you literally right now as I'm speaking to you, trying to find reasons. My cousins did so many things, and that's why you cussed them out. That's why you upset with them, because there was that's called a real reason. What you are doing is trying to finding and yelling at the real reasons are two completely different things. So they will literally have a camera, use their eyeballs, and watch me, follow me around to find something, and then go tell the community. That is so petty of them. But how my father punished me at the school years is that he get upset that I isolate myself. He gets upset and he knows the reason. He knows. That's the exact thing. So he knew everything that he was doing. How he punished me was if I had bad grades, because he doesn't help me with my work. All he does is want to do these disciplinary, trying to be a father, where he wasn't. Because this middle school year, he was, in this entire duration of the story, this was the only one time that he could have been a father. The only one time. So he didn't know he was doing it as a father. And so how the way he punished me is that I have to go in the room. I can't come out to eat. I can't. The only time I can come out the room is to use the bathroom, and whenever he cooks dinner, and that's about it. And what he would do every single time is purposely call people over to the house, and I can't. He told me you cannot see them, so he would call my aunties over. They can't even come in my room. So he's basically, it was like a dungeon. So right now in this room, so you have a better visualization. He will punish me. So people will come to the house, and then they will come to the house. They can't come to this room. The only time I can go is to the bathroom. I can't even go out in the living room to see them, say hi, no nothing. He would just tell me to go back into the room. He would tell me to read a book, write essays. That's all the punishment was. And ever since that my sister was born, through the midst of my high school year, of course I was being bullied and all that stuff. My dad never believed my side of the story. He always think I'm a liar and stuff. And the thing about it is that my mother was in Texas because she got stationed there. That was the word, station. So she gives me money so I can, get snacks and stuff like that. But for him to lighten up on me, I started paying for his cigarettes. I started giving him money just for him to be nice to me. Because when I paid him money and let him use my card, he would take me off of punishment. He would be more nice. He would start speaking to me more. He would start loving me more. Only if I gave him money that my mom gets me. And even though that my mom had bought me my phone, he will always confiscate things that he pays no bills or nothing in. And every time I go call my mom on the phone to tell her, hey, how's my day and stuff like that, he will always run to where I'm at to eavesdrop because he knew that he was being a bad father. He knew that he didn't want me to tell my mother anything that he know that he was doing wrong. And so then when I get off the phone, he'd be like, so what you talk to your mother about? I'll say, she just asked me how I was doing. Are you lying to me? So if I call her right now, she'll tell me that. I'm like, you can go ahead and call her. Why are you so paranoid for? You knew you was doing wrong. Bro, why would you it's like you purposely put yourself in a situation. He's like, I just want to see how far I can get caught. I don't know what the people type of mindset be doing that for. But that's how he was. Every time I called my mother, he always eavesdrop and think that I'm snitching on him. And you best believe I was. Because you knew you was doing wrong. And there was times that my mom was like, defended me, but she wasn't actually there. Yeah. And then he would start throwing things around the house and he would punish me and all that stuff. Now I'm grounded. And ever since my sister was conceived and she was around, I'd say 18 months, she was basically in a situation she grew fast to where she started walking. She started walking, but not really good at speaking yet. So every time he punished me, I had to come home, go straight to my room, and on the weekends, as I'm still on punishment, guess what he does? He always takes them out to dinner. He always takes them out to like every single time he punished me, they go out to restaurants and they come back with toys and food and they just feed me leftovers. He does this every time. So as soon as I come home from school, I have to go straight I have to clean up the house and go straight into my room. And they don't come back until nighttime. And that's when they went out all day because they go to my sister's, Vanessa's dad's house, and where all my aunties are there having fun and stuff, and don't come back with plates of food or toys. And every time, he only does that when he punished me. That's the only time. They punish me and they go straight out the door and go do fun stuff. I kid you not. He did this the entirety of my school year. And until the punishment where he punished me when I had to go in my room, I couldn't see no one. He would purposely have a party at the house where I couldn't see no one. So I'm in my room like this, bored, just depressed, sad, and I can't even call my mom. He knew what he was doing. So at the end of the school year, how does the honor roll goes? If you have A, B's, or all A's, A, B's, and A, B, and C, you go on the stage, and the students who didn't make the honor roll sits in the crowd, and then you get the rewards and stuff like that. So my third and fourth quarter, I had all A's and B's because my first and second, I was doing terrible, but I took it upon myself to start doing better on my grades because I didn't want no more punishment. I did not want any of these things to keep happening to me. And everybody knew he was doing this, but didn't do nothing about it. Because if someone who defends me, then he will get even angry at me because basically they had the audacity to defend me knowing what he was doing wrong. He said, the audacity of you to defend him when I'm doing wrong to him. You shouldn't stay out of your business and continue to allow me to do wrong to him, basically. So the third and fourth quarter, I know I'm skipping a lot, but this is basically generally what happened. So the third and fourth quarter in IPSI, I got the honor roll, all A's and B's. And then after I finished my middle school, we had that, my dad and I had to talk, but my dad will always be intoxicated, always. So it's like, and the thing is, the funny thing about this, every time I come in the house, my sister always runs up to me, gives me a hug and stuff. She's the reason why I lived. She didn't know that, but she was the reason why. When she always come up to me, and every time I open the door, she runs up to me, and I just go, I hug her, and I just go straight to my room. My dad was like, "Oh," so he put down the controller, and said, "Oh, so you're not gonna say hi to me?" He's just like, "You what? Now you're acting like a whole kid." This dude get upset that I don't say hi to him after all the way he punished me, how he treated me, and he still wanted to have respect. But at the end of the school year, we talked and called my mom and said, "Hey, my dad's like, I do want you to go to high school here." And I was like, but my mom said, "Who do you want to go?" My dad said, "Whatever situation, whatever you choose, I will respect it." So it was so I stayed with my dad to go to high school, or go with my mom to Texas to go to high school. You best believe your sweet bally boo that I went with my mom. As soon as he heard that, his whole mood changed, because he knew what he did was wrong. He was upset at me because I didn't allow him to continue to punish me. I didn't allow him to use me for my resources and money and stuff. That's the only reason why he was upset. It's because he couldn't punish me. He couldn't make me feel bad. He was a narcissist. When a narcissist loses to their games and can't get what they want, they will get mad. He was a narcissist. And he still is a narcissist. I have a lot of my family that are narcissists, but you will hear more a part in the story. But to this point, of everybody that I just told you were a narcissist. Except for my mom, it's a different part of the story. But yes. So I went, by the time I had 2 weeks, and when I was 2 weeks, my dad acted like a man-child. He ignored me. He didn't want to talk to me or anything. This is part 6. So part 5, recapping of essentially how me and my cousins were being molded. The adults wanted us to mold us how the way they wanted us to be molded into. So normally the home is supposed to be the safe haven, supposed to be the protection and grow and learn, to be set out into the world to go basic what you learned and help you understand about life, things in the safety and the comfort of your home. But in the home was toxic, and the adults always manipulated us to do things by their own needs. So we end up inheriting these bad traits over time within the toxicity of the home and what they have showed us, taught us, and also belittled us. So we only did things that we only knew. So this is where we left off on when I was in Virginia. I finished school, all those things that had happened. I was learning, I was being depressed, had dark thoughts and stuff because of all those things has came back to haunt me in a way. So after I finished school, I was in, so 7th grade, I was, I finished 7th grade in Virginia. Then after I finished, my mother got stationed into Texas. So I didn't go on the trip with my mom into Texas. So the thing about it was I went to my father, which my father was from Michigan. So I understood how my dad didn't treat me right in the family. He didn't treat me right. He took care about, it's saying that he would buy me stuff and then that would just be it. the same thing. What they would do is just for me, they would show them affection to them. He rather show, like, this is how he show affection to his brothers, to my cousins. He would show affection to them. But when it comes to me, he would just buy me things, just basically to hush me up, just to say that, oh, here, I'll buy you anything that you want, type of stuff. So he cared for them in a loving way, and for me, material way. That he would only buy me material things. He thinks buying me material things would make me happy, basically. And I excluded this to him. I came up, spoke to him many times, and he did not like that. He didn't want to hear it. And most of the time, I know that it got into him because I would catch him drink or smoke, basically, to run away from his problems. But when I was 13, and that was 2014. It was 2014. I was old enough to fly by myself. So after I got done with school, called my dad and said, "Hey, I want to go to middle school there with you." And he said, "All right." My mom got me the plane tickets and stuff, and then I went on the plane by myself. My mom made sure that I went through the gate, and I stayed in touch until it was time for me to go on my plane. He was gonna be there to pick me up, and so I went onto the plane. And for me, because how my heart was, I always give people benefit of the doubt at a young age. At a young age, I really didn't know better. It's just that at this time, before I met my dad, I was closed off. I was only listening to music. Music was basically my safe haven. I only listened to music. I didn't really like to talk to other people, so I was more closed off and more in my head, basically, at this entire time. So I gave it a benefit of the doubt. I gave him another chance to see if he has changed, because over the time that we talked on the phone, he would tell me that he had changed and stuff like that. But he doesn't call me, I have to call him and stuff like that. So I was on the airplane, and to Virginia to Michigan was basically almost 3 hours. It was a short ride. I landed in Detroit. Landed in Detroit. He came and got me. We hugged, and then we went to Vanessa's house, basically. So that's what it was. He was staying with. I'm gonna make this side note real quick. So remember at the party at my grandma's house when I was there before I came to Virginia, she showed up in the picture, and everybody noticed her that she started to show up in the picture more often. Then it turned out that my dad and Vanessa had a thing together. Now I knew something was wrong. I observed a lot. So when I got hurt so much and stayed quiet, I observed a lot. I was happy for him, but I knew something was fishy. I was like, I don't think you should do this, Dad. But of course, that I was more like, I basically was trying to grab his attention, but it was too late because he was too in love, and you already know everybody who is always falling in love with the wrong person, and someone trying to come in and warn them, be like, "Oh, you're just jealous, you're such a hater, you're all this," and then boom, as soon as they get hurt, "You was right all along, and I say, bro, that's how you lose friends. That's how you lose friends. That's just how you lose them. Your friends sees what you cannot see, because you too head over heel over someone. You would tend to easily miss the most important red flags that you need to know to bounce. But your friends on the outside looking in can see everything. It's just you watching TV. You can see what's going to happen. You already know what's going to happen, how it's going to go down and stuff. And if you had the capability to warn that particular person, you would. Yes, but the person who's in the action is not going to realize as much. So that's how it was. I was like, I don't know. And he was like, oh. And this was all at the party. And it was at grandma's house, of course. It was nighttime. And it's like he always, they did their duty and all that stuff. But I was telling him, I don't want a sister. I don't want a sibling, because I was the only child. I wouldn't know how it would be to have a sister or a brother, because I was already I was in my teenager years, so I thought it was too late. I said if I was wanting to get a brother or sister, it should have been at the same age at least. That was me. But and so that's where it all happened. And then they left and moved, all did their stuff. So now, she's in the picture for a reason, because when my 8th grade year, we went to her house, and that's where my dad and them would stay there. And there, I was the only child still. I had my own room. I never really liked the environment there in the house. I didn't like it there. It was quite boring, but it was boring, because watch. I unpacked my clothes and everything, I was like, oh, Vanessa and I, talked and stuff. But there was a separate room. My Aliana's, soon she wasn't existing. She didn't exist yet. So it was about 2015. 2015, yes, around 2015 she was born. But by then, when I first arrived, the first thing my dad did was go to sleep. That's all he did, was either go in the room, go to sleep, or watch TV and just leave me in the living room by myself to play the game and stuff. He never interacted with me. He never wanted to play no games with me. He never wanted to do that, He always go out to the store. He always go out smoking. He smokes outside on the front porch. That's all he does, is smoke outside, watch YouTube, drink. When he's intoxicated, then he want to come play with me. Then he want to come hang with me. Then when he plays Call of Duty all the time, he plays Call of Duty every single night. He plays good. And this is when I was on my summer break. I was on my summer break at this time before it was getting close for me to go to school. So I was in my summer break right now, because I finished my 7th grade year. So I came here on my summer break still. And they didn't come back. They didn't start school until late into September. Late September, because up north or down here, they don't go to school until like August is where they come back to school here, but up north they don't come back to school till September. So I had a lot of time on my hands. I could not spend time with him as much as that I want to. So, but keep in mind that we stayed in Ypsilanti, which is the ghetto area in Ypsilanti, and it was pretty boring, because it was just, my dad never interacted with me. He never spoke. And the thing is, every time we in the same room, we never speak to each other. We don't say any syllables, nothing. So we just look at each other and just watch TV and stuff like that. That's how it always been. Hold on. See? Alright, I just add this in part of it. He ignored me. He didn't want to talk to me. He didn't want to do anything. He started slamming doors on me. He didn't want to talk to me at all. He would purposely talk to my sister and talk in a baby voice and stuff, and then act like and close the door on me and stuff like that. All he was doing is making it a 10,000% sure the reason why the decision that I've made was the right decision. So when the 2 weeks came by, he drove me to the airport. But before he drove me to the airport, he went to go talk to his brothers, his Uncle B, because he had his own place, and they had a son. My cousins. I had a lot of cousins, but that's besides the point. He went to stop by their house, and then we went to the airport. And then after the airport, he dropped me off. And he was like, this is when I was 14. He was like, oh, if your mom calls and said that you're doing this and that, I'm going to come and handle the situation. He said it in a grunt voice loud so everybody can hear him. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah. And then I just went to the airport and went home. And I was glad and happy that I was free from that hellhole. And that's when all the past and depression, everything came and grew on me, because I had no closure. I had no love. I didn't know how to handle myself. I didn't know who I was. I lashed out anger, sadness, cried myself to sleep, everything, because of all of these hateful things that has grown in me with no love and insecure. They made me feel bad. But this is part 7.